And that's one thing I need to do. In the last 10 days, I've talked to enough geologists and seismologists throughout the United States. I've talked to expert from the layer of crust, the crust layer in Stanford University, to the level of what we do and what's going on in this. Well, you'll be hearing, there'll be a press release. The Speaker of the House has allowed me to hold a forum in Youngstown, bringing in experts, not just internet blogging, but experts to bring in and talk about the facts of what's going on over there. You have to separate everything. Hydrofracking does not cause earthquakes. That is not an issue. There's not been wells drilled in Youngstown, Ohio. So that's not an issue there. The issue that we're looking at, and the governor is saying we're going to err on precaution. He's put a moratorium on these 4 brine injection wells. And what brine is basically a waste. After you drill a well, when you're pumping your oil out of your well, and we've been having brine pumped out our wells with our oil. As you see our tanks along these out in the farmlands, you know where these little storage tanks, the oil separates from the brine over a period of a few hours, and then they drain that brine off of the tanks and take it to a injection well somewhere in the state of Ohio. This is not new, folks, on the injection well. We've had injection wells required by the state of Ohio. They used to just open up the valve and drain it on your lands before the middle 80s. Now we require them to take that brine water, that water that we recovered from the land, from way down deep, and put it back down into that ground where it came from. If we don't do that, and all of a sudden we put a moratorium on all 177 wells, you just finish the production of oil in Ohio, because you have to have somewhere to put that brine. That brine is been going on for, like I said, in the middle 80s. We've had 177. We've never had an issue with an earthquake. We have specialists right now in Ohio, and the company who has those brine injection wells, they are willing. They're stopping it, and they are willing to help pay for the process of making sure that we do a proper process to inspect and see what is causing the issue there. And that's why I'm holding a forum with legislators in about a week and a half in Youngstown to bring in experts and see where we're at. There's a lot of fear out there that this causes this, and I want to make sure I bring the people who know what's going on, not just bloggers out there saying, "Oh, this is what the cause of this is, fire coming out of your faucet," or "This is happening here." It's all going to be based on facts, and I want to make sure that we are watching this. And if there happens to be something where they come back with studies that, well, you're going to have to only allow brine wells on certain parts of the state because of the makeup of the geology, we'll look at that. But at this time, we're erring on precaution, just to make sure that we are watching it closely. The wells are not being injected in, but all the other wells we have in the state of Ohio are still up, receiving the brine from the wells, and they are being received without any earthquakes. So we've had all these wells since the middle 80s without any earthquakes. We just want to make sure we're getting it right. The governor's making sure he gets it right. I'm bringing in the experts. We're going to have testimony to make sure that we hear expert testimony on the process. I mean, nothing worse than having somebody from an office in New York City tell you that this is what it's all about in Ohio. Well, I'm going to bring people that know Ohio and the geography and the makeup of what's under our ground. So we have that process, and working with the state geologists. I mean, like I said, I've talked to enough geologists and seismologists that Christmas wasn't fun this year. So, but that's what I'm working on that side. So remember, hydrofracking doesn't cause earthquakes. So, when people blend those things together, they don't know what, it's not a talking point. It's a separate issue. We're talking about injection wells that are putting the brine back into a cavity where there used to be oil down there, and that they drained the oil, they drained it dry, and there's a pool down there where the oil used to be. And all they're doing is injecting that water back down where that empty reservoir is. It's like looking out the lake out here and saying, well, it's empty. It's underground, and you're just putting that brine back where it came from. So, but in the process, you're hearing about fracking water, and I want to answer that one too. Fracking water, saying, well, Ohio, why are you not stopping Pennsylvania from bringing frack water, brine into Ohio? Well, first, it's an interstate commerce issue. You cannot stop interstate transactions. So that's an issue right there. And anyways, we have standards in the well set up for the brine. In that these wells that are here we expect these wells to provide services to all our Ohio wells. When the industry ramps up, they're not going to be accepting much waste out of Pennsylvania or whatever the brine down there. They're going to be servicing the wells that will be drilled in Ohio under the process of the shale development, and also your other wells out there, your wells like your Clinton and your Berea. And I want to go back to the Berea.